Welcome, dear viewers, to a new episode of Dialogue Horizon. In this episode, we'll continue on the issues discussed in the last two episodes because the events are changing by the hour. And still the situation, the picture is still gloomy. Nobody knows exactly what will happen tomorrow, after 1 year. So still there is a lot of ambiguity in the whole scene. So we'll continue on the same issues, and we are happy to host this important issue, one of our very important activists politically, and not only in Sudan, even in outside, because he is specialized in peace and resolution of conflicts. He is Professor Manzoor Abdullah Manzoor. He is the professor in University of Khartoum, still University of Khartoum, and he used to be the director of the Peace Research Institute of University of Khartoum. But he has a lot of contributions and connections, not in Sudan, but primarily in different parts of the globe, with different NGOs and institutions working in the same field of conflicts and peace. Welcome, Professor Manzoor Abdullah Manzoor.
Thank you very much, Omar.
I'm very happy to host you in this episode because I think we have a lot of hard questions, a lot of which needs actually broad mind to envisage what is happening and to forecast what will happen. So that's why I'm very happy to have you with us in this episode. Now let us start by the fairest. People, some skepticals, they are still, or they fear that the framework agreement, which was signed by the military component and part of the civilian component, and which was witnessed and actually coached by the tripartite mechanism, the United Nations, African Union, and IGAD, plus the quadruple of America, UK, England, Britain, United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia. These are the two mechanisms were deeply involved, and they are putting pressure this side and that side. But still, some people and some analysts, they believe that the framework agreement will not hold, or it cannot be a solution as far as the following signals, which I will mention the messages which were sent by different parts, very effective in the process of the peace. First of it is the framework agreement. If you remember, it is based on workshops to start solving the problems one by one. The workshops. It seems that most of the workshops were not successful, or the coming are not successful because of the refrainment of some of the important components of contribution. Like, for example, if we go to the first about the East Track. The East Track is the bone of contention to the Juba agreement. Even nobody contributed or came to this workshop to try to solve or put something on the track of the East, which was totally rejected by the most important group of tribes, the Bija, by Tirik and his groups, and they are strongly rejecting the track. They did not show up. Also about the evaluation of Juba itself, Juba agreement as a whole, as a package, also it was not attended, even by which is very alarming, even by the families of the martyrs and the injuries of the Darfur people. Also, they boycotted. They did not come to the workshop of the transitional justice. So these two workshops did not give the indication that it will hold. The third, which is very important, is the security arrangement. The security arrangement that people it's not yet convened, but people, they are sure that the military component will try and will put some obstacles on its. They will not contribute. They have on the ground that security arrangement or security matters should be discussed only between security people, between soldiers, between the army. And not only this, also they believe that some people, they believe that the military, they will say the attendance of foreigners of the tripartite and the quadruple, seven foreigners. So that for these reasons, some people, they believe that the framework will not hold, apart from the other block on the civilians. But can you tell us about this, the three workshops, the failure of the three workshops?
Well, thank you very much. I don't see or think or agree with you that the workshops failed. I attended 2 of these workshops. I was asked to be a discussant for 3 papers. One in the first workshop, which was on the dismantling of the former regime structures. And I also discussed 2 papers that were presented at the workshop on the Juba Peace Agreement. Now, before these workshops, the framework agreement was signed by a number of stakeholders, including the military. The military and the rapid support forces. General Burhan and General Himeti were signatories to the framework agreement.
Okay.
And the framework agreement explicitly mentioned these 5 issues: Juba Peace Agreement, transitional justice, problem of the East, security sector reform, and the dismantling of the former regime structures. These were the issues that need to be discussed. So they were already part of the framework agreement, which was signed by those who agreed to sign it. And this is why one fails to understand why some of the signatories did not attend these workshops. You see, I attended the inauguration of the last political settlement process, which was done on the 8th of January. And I listened to all the statements made by Burhan, by Himeti, by the Quad, by the Trilateral, by the Congregation of Arab Ambassadors, by the FFC Central Council. All these statements were quite clear in supporting the process. The military component was very clear that they are with this process, that they are looking forward to see a unified and professional army. Both Burhan and Himeti said this. And Burhan, for the first time, he said on the 8th of January this year that the issue of security sector reform is not a military concern only. He said it.
He said it.
He said that civilians should be part of this. If we go back to the record, we will clearly note that Burhan said this. So I don't understand why now there are voices to fix that the military is saying that this is a concern of the military and that others should be kept away from it. To me, this is part of a process that is meant to delay the political process. This is one. 2, with regard to the workshops, it was stated very clear that the trilateral mechanism is going to facilitate this workshop. And indeed, this is what happened. For the first 3 workshops, on the dismantling, on the US agreement, and on the Eastern Sudan, the trilateral mechanism was the facilitator of this. You see? And these workshops, the 3 workshops, it was made very clear that they would like to have the participation of a broad spectrum of stakeholders. not only those who are pro the framework agreement, but others who are opposing it were also invited. My understanding was that 60% of the participants are those who are supporting the framework agreement, and 40% are from those who do not support it. With regard to the Juba Peace Agreement in particular, I think it was quite successful to the extent that they invited people from the war-affected areas. I listened to a lot of voices from the Blue Nile, from the Nuba Mountains, and from Darfur. Representatives of IDPs, of those who were affected by war, they were there. And some of these participants, they had very scathing and very harsh statements about the Juba Peace Agreement and how it's implemented. Now, one of the things that were counterproductive is that the one that was organized in Juba, a few days after the one that was organized in Khartoum,
Yes.
to me, that was just some sort of a response to what happened in Khartoum. Because one fails to understand why the timing makes me a bit suspicious. If it was done before the one in Khartoum, it would have been understandable. And mind you, the one in Juba mainly was organized by the government of South Sudan, and those who participated represented the leaders of the
Armed struggle.
and the head of the Sudan Council and others. None of the real stakeholders were invited to this workshop.
Who were in the Juba agreement before in the 2020.
Exactly. No representative of those who were affected by war were there. And again, in the last week's episode, we said here that you cannot prepare a new matrices before addressing the reasons why the previous matrices failed. You know? So the workshops in Khartoum, to my reading, addressed real issues, real concerns that you cannot gloss over if you want to have a smooth transition to democracy. And for this reason, I don't look at them as failures. Of course, you are absolutely right. Some of the key people did not attend them. The one of the Juba Peace Agreement was attended by some of the signatories. Al-Hadi Idris and Natair Hajar were there. They attended at least part of
Juba.
Yes, that was in Khartoum. So, and this leads me to say that the framework agreement, despite all these challenges and problems, is still the most credible thing on the table. You know, if we don't have an alternative on the table, this is the one that we have. This is the one that we should do our best to have it move forward. Because we don't have the luxury of you know, folding our hands and staying without bringing any alternative and simply cursing the framework agreement and saying that it's not working. So the way I see it is that we really don't have an option.
So you think that the military component will attend this workshop of security element, which
they will do it.
It will include will it include the reintegration of the rapid support force?
Of course, because this is something that was mentioned clearly in the framework agreement, and the leader of the rapid support forces said it in his latest speech very clearly. Now, the technicalities about that, the time, the sequencing,
it's left to the army.
That is something they have to decide about. But as a matter of principle,
so do you think they will? Because some people they believe that they are the component, military component, because they are all both. Because when we talk about military component, we are talking about the rapid support force and SAF. Because in the signatories, why if the army is one army, why in the framework agreement they both signed?
No, they are not one. We have to be honest and clear.
So now they have a split.
As we speak, we have rapid support forces and we have the Sudan Armed Forces. This is the reality.
The reality.
But the other reality or fact is that both parties agree that there will be some sort of an integration.
Integration.
Now, the technicalities, the things that are involved in this integration is up to the military to do. But civilians will have to be part of this.
So what will be the purpose of this workshop? What are they going to do in the workshop? If it's already signed that in the framework, it's already signed that the military component, both they signed that they should, rapid support forces should be integrated
That's right.
in the army.
That's right.
And everybody
what will be discussed in this workshop is how to do the integration, the details of it.
Does it need some civilian components?
Of course, because who is going to oversee this? Because this integration is not going to take place in one week or 1 month.
It takes years.
It takes years. And by the time these processes start, there would be a civilian government in place. And the civilian government is responsible for the military, because the head of the Sovereign Council is the commander-in-chief.
Should be like any other country.
Precisely. And again, security sector reform is something that happened in many countries of similar circumstances, like Sudan. Sudan is not an exception. And I really fail to see why there are voices that affect that civilians should be excluded. What secrets are there?
No secrets.
No. There should be no secret about this.
The world it's very transparent.
Of course.
If you go to any information,
any website, you will find how many bullets the Sudanese army has, how many tanks.
And they even rank the armies.
Of course.
Based on what?
So I think those who try to say that this is an exclusive military affair.
This is not exclusive.
Of course, I understand that there are some aspects that should be, kept, and they could do that. But to insist that the whole process should be completely guarded,
no.
Again, it's the civilians or civilians that should not take part of it. I don't think this makes any sense. It doesn't.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Because you are right. You are right. I think this. So that's why maybe people are afraid that as if some they are saying that as if some of the military components are playing delaying tactics. They are buying time. I don't know why, but they believe that they put some here. What you said is very clear and very logical. That the civilians, they will have definitely a role in the military component when the government is fully civilian. And
not only that, the leader of the Sovereign Council and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces on the 8th of January this year, he said this. He said that security sector reform concerns the civilians also. He said it. And let's just go back and listen to what he said, So that was very clear.
No excuse for...
Yeah. Instead of, creating all these hurdles, I think it's the interest of the country, it's the interest of everybody that things need to be, moving, that let us move forward to the process, that let us try to have more people signing to the framework agreement, so that we end up having a civilian government. Because everybody is talking about the importance and the necessity of having a civilian-led government in the country. And we already started seeing that the economy started to go down.
It went down quickly, sharply.
Prices are rising, and the value of the currency is going down, Although not in a speedy way, but still, this is something that has to be taken very seriously. And last month, we experienced delays in salaries being paid.
This month also.
And this month is also going to be a problem.
And yesterday I read the Bank of Sudan report about the performance of 2022. 2022, the whole year was under the change after the coup, after 2022.
True.
In the report, they said the deficit or
the balance of trade was terrible.
The trade is it reached the maximum.
Yeah, that's right.
Not reached in the last 10 years.
True.
It used to be about 4 billion difference between exports and imports. Now it is 6.7 billion. This is the balance of not balance of payment, but this is the trade deficit.
Yeah, that's true. I read it also.
Which is very alarming.
It is alarming.
And
This is alarming.
it happened in the year, 1 year, complete year of being without civilian government.
True, true,
This
true.
this should be
It is
alarming.
alarming.
Should
It is
should be
alarming.
highlighting to those who are not aware of what is happening. You know what this means? The deficit. This will reflect on the value of the dollar, the pound.
Of course.
Definitely later,
That's
people will try to buy from the market to bridge the gap, and this will
Increase.
devaluate
Yeah.
the pound, and people should expect by the end of this year maybe the dollar will hit 900 pounds. Should not be, which is that is what you are saying, that
Yeah, and exactly for these reasons, we need really to speed up things, and we need to have a political settlement. And we keep saying that you cannot have 100% agreement over these issues. But as long as you have a critical mass that is enough to move forward, that is what should happen.
Okay, that's exactly what my question, second question, because you actually invented the term, the critical mass is something of physics. It's critical mass, which is something very, very, very nice.
Yeah.
The critical mass, because once anything reaches the critical mass, a change will happen.
That's right.
A successful change
Will
will happen. Successful, I mean, like in a bomb, it will reach the critical mass. It is successful, but
It will explode.
it is alarming
Right.
for a bomb when it reaches the critical mass. But about the critical mass, that is where the military component is enjoying the delaying tactics. Some people, they have started to endorse or to entertain the idea of enlarging even Hamid yesterday when he came, I read some of the statements, he backed down a little bit. He said what he said, that yes, the framework should be the vehicle taking us to the change, the democratic, but also he agrees that it has to be enlarged to include everybody except the former regime, which is a big change. He's talking about enlarging. Others, the opponents to this idea, they think that flooding or inundating the framework with parts or parties or which do not really believe in it, it will spoil the whole operation. Like, for example, they are talking about the democratic, the Tijani Sisi, he had a block. Al-Fadil al-Mahdi, he had also a block. National consensus and national acceptance, something like this. They have, and others, so people, they believe that if they open the door wide to include the whole of the democratic bloc of the FFC, Force of Freedom, it will jeopardize the whole effort to reach a settlement, because they will add. What is your comment?
Well, this is actually the whole issue, and this is what causes delays in reaching a political settlement. Now, FFC Central Council has a very clear position that we have already agreed who should be part of the process.
They agreed.
Of course, that is part of the political framework agreement. The signatories who signed the framework agreement already agreed who should be part of this. And for them, we should go by that agreement. We should allow people who were considered part of the political framework agreement. And they mentioned them very clearly. Ansar Sunnah, Popular Congress Party, DUP, GEM, and SLM in Nawi.
Those are allowed.
Those are the ones that should sign the political framework agreement. Others are not allowed. The military and the civilians who signed the framework agreement agreed on this.
Agreed on this.
Of course. This is what was agreed upon.
What is causing the delay? Why?
The delay, this is what we see the democratic bloc, they have a lot of other people. They want to bring them on board to be part of the framework agreement. Now, some of these people are controversial. Some of them are proxies of the former regime. No one can deny this, you know. And to be honest with you, sometimes I see that FFC Central has a point.
Has a point.
You know, if you have somebody who does not believe in democratic transition, why should he be part of the process? If you have somebody who openly supports the military coup, why would you allow him to be part of that? But again, if you look at it from the other perspective, if you are open to talk to Hemeti and Burhan, the people who did the coup, why don't you talk to others? You see? So it depends the way you look at it. Personally, I am for enlarging the process. I am for allowing people who believe in democracy, who believe in transition, to be part of the process. The Popular Congress Party was very clear. They came out explicitly condemning the military coup from day one.
Yes.
And it makes sense that these people are to be part of this. But if you have someone who holds a stick from the middle and try to play games.
And they were definitely against the hostage regime.
Of course.
They were imprisoned.
They were imprisoned and all of that, and they were part of the regime until it fell. But then they came out clean. They said that we condemn what happened. We are with the democratic transition. We are against the military coup and all of that.
So no point depriving them.
No,
there is no point.
No point.
What about the GEM and the Liberation, Manawi and Jibril?
Well, these people, I think nobody is actually keeping them out. They are keeping themselves out.
The Revolutionary Front.
Yeah.
Acceptable.
Yeah, of course. The Revolutionary Front is part of FFC. You have some of the signatories who signed the framework agreement. You have Malik Agar, you have Al Hadi Idris, you have Tahir Hajar. These people signed, and they were part of that.
So there's no point to keep them out of this.
No. The FFC Central Council has said very clearly that Minawi and Jibril
are welcome.
They are invited to sign, but they don't want to because they want to come as a bloc, and this is actually what's blocking the process.
They want to come as a bloc.
Yes, that's what they kept saying.
And the other, the freedom, the Central, they have a point because that they say the bloc, it includes some of those who really work with the hostage regime.
That's right.
Like, without mentioning names, but
True.
many who are trying to get on board.
True. And again, to make things worse, all these political games that are being played out, whether by FFC1 or the Democratic plot, relates to how the Prime Minister and the Cabinet would be selected. Let's be very frank. Now, FFC1 says that we will not allow someone who doesn't believe in the revolution and the transition to be a Prime Minister. We will not allow someone to be a Cabinet member if he or she does not believe in the revolution and support the change. And this makes a lot of sense to a lot of people. I am one of those who would not like to see a PM who does not believe in the transition or believe in the revolution.
He has to be.
He has to be, because this is a change.
But some people, Professor, some people, they also, some of the other sides, they say, okay, those who signed, really they don't have supporters. They don't have a base, a popular base, like say for
yeah, I know this is a question about legitimacy, but
But Ummah Party is one of the four of the major components of the FFC. Nobody denies that Ummah Party had a sizable number of supporters, of people under Ummah Party. But if they are talking about the other small parties, okay, now in this bloc which signed, the Communist Party is not there and the Ba'ath Party are not there.
No, they are not there. And again, a complicating factor here is a very hazy talk about within the FFC Central Council itself.
Yes.
Sometimes they talk about non-partisan cabinet. Sometimes they talk about technocrats. Sometimes they talk about other things. And to be honest with you, this is making a lot of confusion. And this is also something that is making a lot of other political parties very nervous. Because people are now apprehensive about the possibility that FCC Central, if they go this way, they might end up forming a government.
Which was subjected to the coup.
Not subjected to the coup, but a cabinet that belongs to different political parties. And this is unbecoming. Because political parties should only be in the government on the basis of elections.
Yes, you're right.
You see?
Yes,
and to be honest with you, if this is the understanding within the FFC Central, then I am against it. If the idea is to bring a cabinet on the basis of, having someone from Ummah, other one from the Congress Party, other one from the UP, it's not going to work.
Definitely it's not fair.
You see?
You are right. For the simple reason, Professor, for the simple reason, we have to be, people they have to be fair and transparent. What is the objective? One of the most objectives of the duties of the transitional government is to prepare for general elections.
True.
Okay, general election involves the constituency, the distribution, and the according to certain criteria of the people. So this should be entirely done by non-partisan
absolutely
government.
That's right.
I cannot expect, for example, Ummah Party, they have a stronghold in certain areas. They might, what they call it,
they might take advantage of being part of the government.
Yes, it happened before in one of the elections. So I myself agree with you. I'm against any traditional government with any color or any element of political parties.
Yeah,
political parties should go for preparation for the...
That is right. And I think FFC Central needs to come out clean and be very clear and very specific about this issue. Up to now, they are not.
They are not.
They talk with different tongues. Today they say something, next day they say something else. And this is something that is making a lot of people nervous and complicating the political scene.
Yes.
They need to
I agree. It seems that they are not very clear about this.
No, they are not.
Very equivocal. They talk as if they want government, the same government, the OST, which was dissolved by the coup of 25th of...
It's not going to work. It's not going to work.
But the first one, which was fully technocrats, actually did something.
Yeah, that's right. It had a very good start.
And
then you know what happened? The crisis started after the Juba peace agreement was signed.
Yes, I remember.
Because some of the FFC people say that if the signatories to the Juba peace agreement get positions in the cabinet, why shouldn't the political parties also do the same?
Yes.
If you want a non-partisan cabinet, then the signatories should not be part of it. And actually, that is the beginning of the creation of the problems. Mm-hmm. Now, even with the coming one, I think something has got to be done with the quota that was provided for the signature of the Juba peace agreement. Something has got to be done about that. I don't think they should be allowed to go with the model that was put in place since October 2020. It's not working.
It's not working, yes.
It has to be rethought.
It has to be non-partisan. It has to be... But also when we talk about non-partisan, can we consider this, the armed struggle people, they are not parties. When they go to the general elections, I don't think they will go at justice and equality and justice movement. Is it a political or military movement?
Well, they have to decide. They have to decide to either to register as a political party, or they join other political parties.
They will join because I know that the GEM itself, they are part of the One of the parties. It started anyhow. Anyhow, this it depends on how. But this takes me to the. Do you think that there is any prominent nomination for a prime minister?
Well,
for some time still, Hamdouk is starting to be repeated in the media.
well, a lot of names were actually circulating. You know, I was also rumored that I was one of the.
I heard.
But anyway, I think we saw Hamdok's name, we saw Nasruddin Abdul Bari, we saw Ibrahim al-Badawi, we saw Taha Usman Ishaq, a lot of names that are there. But I think the issue is not so much about names. It's about criteria.
Yes.
And I think this is one of the things that the signatories of the framework agreement should start thinking about seriously, because time is running, and if you don't put clear criteria about how to select the PM, you will run into a lot of trouble.
It will be in trouble. The country, the whole country will be in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, now, Professor, let us move to another also sticky issue, the issue of the Rapid Support Force. As you remember, Rapid Support Force, from the war back to history, it was part of the borders guard of Musa Halal at that time. Then the hostage regime decided to form this rapid support forces, not only to protect the borders, also to combat the insurgencies but they were restricted to be working in Darfur area only. But all of a sudden, the rapid support forces started to enlarge and grow. It started enlarging to an alarming size, which included some of the dissolved intelligence service. Now, actually, people, they believe that the rapid force is a parallel army. It's another army. Even the international community is a little bit alarmed and worried, especially America, about the rapid support force, as they consider it as a militia. And really, the rapid support force has grown to a sizable. Now it is a force. It is a force, not equal but parallel to the army.
Well, it's true. I think the problem here is that by its very nature and by law, this is a separate and independent force.
This is by law,
of course.
Yes.
The January 2017's ratification of the Parliament by the Parliament of the Rapid Support Force law gave these Rapid Support Forces a big room of maneuver. It gave it the right to recruit, to train, to get arms, and to do everything that a regular army does. And I think, again, here, I want to repeat what I said last week, that it is misguided thinking to look at the Rapid Support Force as a militia. This is not a militia.
It's not a militia.
This is a regular force that is being paid from the budget of the country.
Yes.
You know? And it has to be addressed this way. But luckily, now everybody, including the rapid support leaders themselves, is convinced that this situation is unbecoming. It cannot continue like this. We will have to have one army at the end of the day. No one has any doubt about this. You know, there might be some issues about timing, about modalities, about technical aspects, and all of that. But eventually, this is going to be integrated in the Sudan Armed Forces. I don't think anyone has doubts about this.
But do you think the process which makes the process difficult, if you talk about integration by the individuals, then you have to compare the criteria for joining the army. For example, whether it's an officer, he has to be from the military college.
Well, not necessarily. This is not a president. No. You have the Anania who don't even know how to read or write. They were officers.
They were officers.
So there is no point here. You've got to do, because this is an unusual situation, and you cannot try to straitjacket it to something that applies to during normal situations. You have an abnormal situation, and mind you, a lot of the commanders in the rapid support forces were either officers of the SAF or officers of the military of the intelligence. There are hundreds of high-ranking officers who were seconded from Sudan Armed Forces to rapid support. Yes, there might be some officers who did not go to military college, but their numbers, I don't think the numbers.
But this
are
should
that.
not be a problem.
No, it's not a
the
problem.
army should not raise this.
No,
issue.
this is not a problem, because this happened all the time. Whenever you want to make integration of former rebels or former, you name them, you have to deal with these anomalies.
You have to relax some of the.
Of course, you have to do something about that.
Yes, yes.
And again, this is something that has to be tabled. And here comes the importance of having civilians on board, because this is not only a technical military issue. People have to be part of this process, so that they, at the end of the day, they reach out a modality that will help them to deal with this kind of anomalies. You have officers who did not go to military college, but here you are, you have them. What are you going to do about that? So this should not be a sticking bone.
This should not be a problem.
No,
but it might be raised because
it will be raised.
But okay, what do you think if they take the whole RS, the whole rapid forces, as a one unit, one of the units of the army under the hierarchy of the army, the military army, but working like as they started on the borders, just border to protect the borders, as one unit.
You call them whatever you call them, but at the end of the day, they should be under the armed forces.
Armed forces, yes.
Their commander should be appointed by the armed forces. They have to go through all the things.
As any other
exactly,
unit of
precisely.
the
Of course,
my
preference is to fully integrate them, so that they just have to be distributed in the different army units. This is the ideal situation. But if this proves not possible, then your suggestion is also
this is
fine.
what you said. I witnessed that in 1972 in the Anyanya, we had the flag troops. The process went very smooth. The army, the police, the prison, it went. I witnessed one of the parades of the Anyanya soldiers were joined, and they bypassed the military college barrier.
That's right.
And it held for 10 years.
That's right.
And it was breached by Nimeri, but not by Yodiflago.
Exactly. So if there is a will, there is always a way.
Yes.
And I think if if the process starts, I'm quite sure it will go smoothly, as long as everybody believes that the situation is abnormal. It has to be straightened. These forces have to be part of the Sudan Armed Forces. They have to be under its command. That's what everybody needs, And luckily, even the leadership of the Rapid Support Forces, so far, they're saying exactly this, that we are going into this process and into this direction.
Okay, there is another issue in this rapid support force, apart from the sticky issue of the reintegration and the modality and the way and the timing of this is something. Another dimension is in the picture. The rapid support force has some connection, some internal, external connection. It's known that, especially the commander of Hamiti, he has very, very good connections in this. Like, for example, his visit to Moscow just at the onset of the war of the Ukrainian war, and had some relation with other countries. So this dimension, plus the financial, the economic wealth or growth of these two factors. Some people,
true.
How can they pass this?
True, but the reality is that the leader of the Rapid Support Forces is the number 2 in the country, right?
Yes.
He is the deputy of the head of the Sovereign Council.
Yes, number 2.
And naturally, he do state visits.
Yes.
He meets people. He meets presidents. He meets prime ministers. It makes sense. But now the question is whether he's doing this as head of the Rapid Support Forces or deputy of the Sovereign Council. That's the question. But I don't think there is any point in saying.
Point two, yes. And also, I forgot the Saudi Arabia involvement in the war, the Yemen war.
Exactly.
Also.
Exactly. Although that is now, I think, is subsiding.
Subsiding.
But of course, and even this external connection, when the integration happens, then this automatically is going to be, you know, a self-solving kind of a problem, because when the Rapid Support Forces comes under the command of the Sudan Armed Forces, then that is solved. So the key issue here is work for integrating the Rapid Support Forces into the Sudanese army.
Will this affect the appointment, let us say, of the Prime Minister or the transformation to the civilian government?
No, it shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
Because this is a process.
It takes time.
This is a process that's going to take time.
It will continue even in the civilian
Even
role.
after the end of the transition, it might continue.
Yes.
Because these are technical things. They have financial implications. They have a lot of things. Let us start the process genuinely. And if we have the political will to do that, I think things will move into a positive direction.
So we believe that this will not affect the transition of the, because some people say that although General Hamiti is definitely, he repeatedly, and even his second in command, his brother, also they repeated that they are with the reintegration of the Rapid Support Forces.
Exactly.
But Hamiti himself is taking a different side, Burhan.
But that is, you see, that's
the framework.
That's a political difference.
Political difference.
Which to me is good.
It's good to have it.
Because in terms of being, you know, soldiers and part of the military, they are on the same page. They have political differences, and that's what Yasser al-Atta said, that the differences between Burhan and Hemeti are political. You see? They might have different opinions about how the political framework agreement should proceed, but I don't think they have disagreement when it comes to having one and united professional army.
Okay, that's good. Okay, my last question is, because also time runs very fast. The Abdulaziz Al-Hilum, he used to sign a letter to communique after a visit. He signed a visit last week, a communique with with Ja'far al-Marghani of the DUP, the other DUP in the Democratic Bloc, actually. And this includes the
separation between religion and state.
So it is something.
Well, I really
what do you think of it?
No, I don't take this seriously, because Al-Hilu has signed the MOU with Hamdok, with Burhan, with Ummah Party, with the Sudanese Communist Party, and now with the Democratic Bloc.
Maybe the same one? Similar?
It's the same kind of MOU was signed with everybody. You know, with Al-Hilu, if you agree with him that we should separate religion from the state, he will sign with you.
That's the only.
That is the only condition. And I see this as strategically serving the SPLM Abdulaziz Al-Hilu, because this is what they have been saying all the time, that we are for a secular state, that we are for separation of religion from the state. And as long as you agree with them on that, they will sign with you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Manzoor Abdullah Manzoor. Well, time is out. We hope to see you next week in another issue, if you are here, if not in out. Thank you, dear viewers, for being with us in the last hour. We hope to see you next week in another issue of Dialogue Horizon. Thank you and bye.